Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. I am the CHALL from Chal Sport, your YouTube sporting network, and today we got some Doncaster Rovers news because Tommy Rowe has signed a brand new contract until 2024. Now, before we get started with this, I want to congratulate the club on selling out their kit launch on the 23rd of June. If you don't know already, I will be there, so I cannot wait to see all of you guys that are going as well. Also, please do like, comment, subscribe, click the notification bell to see the next YouTube video, and for now, let's get straight into this one. So, Doncaster Rovers Football Club are delighted to announce that Tommy Rowe has signed a new 2-year deal. Last season's top scorer, Rowe was set to enter the final year of his contract, but has pledged his future to the club until the summer of 2024, and he sees himself spending the later years of his career at the EcoPass Stadium. Now, the versatile midfielder captained the side during the second half of the season in the absence of Tom Anderson, returned to the club back in the summer this time last year, 2 years after his initial spell ended, and made 50 appearances across all competitions, and in total he's made 194 appearances in Rovers colours. First team manager Gary McSheffrey believes securing Rowe for the next 2 years is a major piece of summer business for the club. He follows Barlow and Faulkner in signing new contracts. Now, of course, it'll be interesting to see what Tommy Rowe's thinking about all this. Let's hear his thoughts now on the official Doncaster Rovers website.
New 2-year deal for you, Tommy. How pleased are you to get that sorted?
Delighted. Yeah, it's obviously been something we spoke about throughout the summer, and just over, today, come down here and get it done today with everyone here. It's been brilliant.
You're pleased to, you've got your future sorted over the next couple of years.
Yeah, definitely. I think for me, obviously, 33, I wanted to make sure that when I returned last year, that I was going somewhere I could spend, the latter part of my career. And obviously, we didn't have a good season in all aspects with the relegation. But there's still a lot of lessons that we've obviously learned from the season. And the 6 weeks that have passed, it's probably been a good reflection time for myself. And now obviously I can get used to the start of pre-season, which we return back in a week's time, and make a fresh start with it.
I think that's really important. I think it's really, really important because, like you said, lessons had to be learned from this past season. I think him signing a new 2-year deal before he's officially entering his final year, I think that's a start in rectifying one of the mistakes that we've made in the past few years, and that is trying to tie down decent players to long-term contracts. We were starting to do that at the start this time last year with John Taylor's new deal, Barlow's new year contract with an optional year as well, Clayton and Younger and players like that with the optional 12 months on the back of 1-2-year deals. We are trying to secure a more tighter squad, and we do have more numbers this time than we do this time last year. So we are starting to rectify some of those mistakes. It's just bringing in the quality that's going to fill up the numbers. But in terms of the contracts thing, I think that it's great getting someone like Tommy Rowe tied down to a nice couple of years, and to get someone like that, hopefully spending his latter part of his contract here with us. And who knows, maybe he will, like James Coppinger, retire at this club. So who knows? But yeah, I'm glad about it.
It's a big statement for myself. Obviously, you mentioned last season, not a great season, but you're confident that brighter times are ahead.
Yeah, I think obviously initially coming back, I was confident then. You look back at the season before when I was there, it was a fantastic season for large parts of it. But I came into the team, to the club with my eyes closed in terms of what was to expect, and now I've been part of something for a full season. I've seen everything going on. I've been part of that, best part of 50 games. And you use the summer, particularly after a bad season, you use them summers to reflect honestly. And for me, it's been a way of saying how I can come back to this season and help the team, and now my sort of future is secure for the next couple of seasons. I can really go in and help the lads.
You obviously, when you first arrived at the club on a permanent basis, that original spell was similar sort of circumstances. You know, the drop into League Two, and obviously back then you saw the potential for the club to kick on again. Do you see that again this time around? That this can be a launch pad?
Definitely, I think obviously with things like that, they're layered differently in terms of that time. You know, we there was huge changes around the club in terms of personnel. There was, you know, quite a large amount of players coming in new, so that always takes a lot of time to adapt. And you know, as we felt from last year, we didn't have a settled changing room from the beginning to the end. Really, we had a lot of players that were playing who were young, and then a lot of experienced players who were injured, and you know, that balance was always off. This season we'll have more of a balance. Obviously, you got to hope that the lads come back fully fit and everyone's looked after themselves. As you expect from this level, you're going to get players that come back fit. And if we get that, and we've got, you know, a good group that are together with, you know, the same goal and the same why, which for me has changed. You know, when you go through a bad season like we did, you have to come out with a reason why for the next season, and it stays with you. It stays with you for 5-6 weeks. So with that in mind, you'd like to think that that's going to be the driving force for pre-season. So it makes the manager and the assistant manager's job a lot easier when you've got hungry players coming back. We've got something to prove, and we should have a squad full of that.
And that's very important. You know, we've got to have a good balance this season overall. You know, we've got to have people that want to play for this club and want to take this club forward, not just people coming in and stealing a wage check and not wanting to leave the club in the dirt kind of thing. So, you know, you've got to hope that there's players in that squad that will do that or will want to do that. Obviously, like I said in previous videos, you know my thoughts. Anyone that doesn't want to play for this club every week and put their all in every week can just get out now. Don't care how much it costs, get out. Because I only want to support a squad that gives their all every week. And if they're not doing that, then as fans, what can we get behind if they're not giving their all every week? If we're losing most weeks like we did this past season, so. And Tommy Rowe was saying it. You know, we didn't have a very settled back room last season. I think it. You know, we had Wellens, Hunt, Green for about a month, Glyn Hodges for about a month, and then Steve Eyre coming in, Gary McSheffrey as manager, Frank Sinclair assistant manager. Now we're setting the back room again. Steve Eyre's the new assistant manager. Frank Sinclair's back in the youth. Gary stays on as manager. James Coppinger's the new head of football operations. So the back room has been very chop and change throughout the season. And, you know, when you have a chop and change back room, it does not affect the squad greatly. And when you've got, and like Tommy said, when you've got experienced players out on injury, and, you know, part of that's down to the pitch, part of that's down to fitness, part of that's down to the medical team, who need a serious upgrade, in my opinion. They need a serious rethink over the summer. Hopefully we get a new physio through the door, fingers crossed, or two if possible, you know, just to really refresh that medical team, just to give them something different. And I don't mean internal appointments, I mean from the outside, you know, in my opinion. But yeah, overall, like I said, just keep the backroom steady, make sure the fitness levels are good, have a great, consistent pre-season. I know some people aren't happy with the fixtures and looking at other teams and saying, well, why can't we get a League One team or you know, what's it? But at the end of the day, pre-season's pre-season. It's not the be-all and end-all of how we finish our season come May next year. You know, I use that example again. Look at the pre-season we had when we went on to the championship. So, you know, in fact, no, actually, look at the pre-season when we were in the playoff semi-final in League One. That's even a better example. So, overall, you know, I think Tommy's spot on with all this.
I would say, how do you assess the squad? Obviously, as you said, still quite a lot of numbers in from last season. How do you think the squad's shaping up for the challenge ahead this season?
I know what was in the squad in terms of last season, that obviously players that didn't actually take part as much as they could because of injuries. It always happens, but with a fresh start and a fresh approach, which is no reason why you're delighted to be here. You've got the change in the structure of the club, which it doesn't only change the player's perspective, it changes, how the season can go from 2 to 3 years onwards. Players have got to be part of that and take accountability for the season that's gone, but also know that they can make real change with the way we approach this season. We look at what happened last year, and obviously we don't want to take that into the new season, but them lessons can be valuable for the drive and the determination. I think as a bare minimum, as a club, as players coming back, you look at yourself, and every game you go out there, you've got to give your all for the team, you've got to give your all to the fans, and we have a responsibility to drive the revenue by wanting fans to come back every week, getting kids and parents out the seat, and if they want to come back every week, it means that we've done our job as players, and for me that's something that's been on my mind over the summer, and it starts when we go back to pre-season, and that internal drive will hopefully lead to that.
That's a big thing. Couple of big things there. Getting the losing culture out of the club, getting fans back in the stadium, and the structure change at the club. However people may want to say, oh, it doesn't feel like there's been a structure change. I know there's been some kind of structure change at the club. They're going with a different structure. Well, they're said to be going with a different structure. New head of football role, and it's obviously it's going to take a year or two to settle in this new structure. But if we're starting to see mistakes being made, which we are starting to see, we're starting to see players being tied down to long-term deals that deserve to be, like Tommy Rowe. Barlow deserves a second chance, in my personal opinion. Faulkner's a long-term project, so he deserves to stay. Getting youth players in, like Freddie Allen, for example, fighting off Category 2 academy sides to get that in. That's not a fluke. That's requiring some kind of pulling power, and that's got to come from the club. So, like I said, structure change was what was needed. I said it for months. I said it throughout the second half of the season. Need a structure change. Need a change of direction at the club. Need more football people making the decisions. No one from the board making football decisions. Overseeing it. Don't get me wrong. Because obviously, as a chairman, as a CEO, as a financial backer, you've got to oversee everything around the club, from the football side to the business side. So they're going to oversee it, obviously. But when you've got football people making football decisions and none of the board getting involved in the football decisions, they're just overseeing it. And if it doesn't pay off, you get rid of those football people, you bring in new football people. If it does go right, you keep those football people and you add to that and give them exactly what they need. Then the club works in a better scenario. And, we've just got to hope. I mean, we're starting to see little improvements over the summer. Like I said, Harrison Bingham's was a nice arrival early on in the season. Obviously, window opens officially in a couple of days. So give it 3-4 days, and, we'll hopefully start to see more links, and we'll hopefully start to see more business done in the next few weeks. And, as the Free Press said, we're probably expecting 4 or 5 permanent additions, 2-3 loanees, and that's our business done. Unless, anything in the start of the season in August, if a couple of injuries prop up in August, then we're going to obviously need to dip in the market and bring some extra reinforcements in to bring that squad number up. But, being brutally honest, we're probably looking at 4 or 5 permanent signings, including Harrison Biggins probably, and a couple of loanees as well, mostly in the attacking areas from what we understand. So, I think what people will probably expect is probably a permanent winger, a loanee striker, the centre midfielder, which is Biggins, probably another centre midfielder as well to cope with Bostock's exit, and also a left back. And if you're going to loan the third person in, you're going to probably loan in the second left back. So that's probably what we're going to do this window. That's just my guess anyway, but I think that's probably our window covered, unless anything last minute pops up just before deadline day. So, like I said, just get rid of the losing culture, get the right balance together, keep clear of injuries, have a consistent pre-season, and just go into this season with the previous season in the back of our minds.
You mentioned the changes in the structure. What have you made to those?
fantastic. Obviously, it's quite a vogue in fashion at the minute in football. A lot of clubs have gone that way and been very successful. So I think you can only look at that model and say, how can it work for the club? And it's quite scary in terms of the change. You're looking at a football perspective and how will it change your club, but we were obviously in a position where we needed it, and the people that have been brought in, obviously I've known Cops for so long now, and I know about his strengths and definitely where he excels, and for me that's why it was most exciting, seeing the developments, because the one thing that can drive a club is culture. And I know when I come back on 16th of June, the culture will dramatically have changed. And with the manager and Steve, who has been signed up now, and it feels like a real positive push in the right direction. And I can only see a real steeliness and determination by all mentioned that they're going to try and work hard for pre-season to get the lads prepared well.
And, obviously as fans, we've got to try and back this as much as we can. I know a lot of people are McSheffrey out. They don't really think he's the man to take us forward. For me, the jury's still out, because I think you look back over the last 6 months, the damage was done in the first 6 months of the season with Richie Wellens. The squad didn't gel. Players were exiled. A lot was going on behind the scenes. Seems like, there was red flags at the time. Maybe that's what brought on the change of structure at the club. Maybe it was a case of, well, we've been called out on these red flags by Wellens. Maybe it's time to change things up. So, look, from what Tommy Rowe just said there, I think in that particular moment, like I said, the culture will hopefully dramatically change, and that's our hope as fans. The culture will change. There'll be a more positive culture rather than the culture we've experienced over the last 18, 20 months. So yeah, for me, the losing culture set in when Darren Moore left. But let's be brutally honest here. When Darren Moore was here, there was a lot of short-term fixes, not a lot of long-term thinking. There was a lot of loanees. Yes, we played excellent football. Don't get me wrong, we played great football. We had some brilliant players in that team. And some of the players because you've watched the old videos on this channel of me reviewing those games. You got like Taylor Richards, Josh Sims. Um, we had the Grant McCann squad, like the Malik Wilkes, etc. Herbie Kane. But the problem was, when McCann left, we had a wafer-thin squad. Moore came in, brought in a load of loanees, brought some permanent players in, obviously. But, again, it felt wafer-thin. And then the second season, brought in another load of loanees, left the club in March. Ben Whiteman left in January. And just that's when the losing culture truly started. I think it's been set in since Grant McCann left, but I think the official losing culture on the pitch started when Darren Moore left and Andy Butler was caretaker manager. And that wasn't Butler's fault. And I've said this multiple times. Butler wasn't the fault for me. It was the players that didn't play for him. So, I think that's when the losing culture started. And ever since then, we've had this losing culture and we've not been able to shake it off. Hopefully now we're going in a better direction. We can shake off that losing culture and just get back on the road, because from that playoff semi-final, in that playoff semi-final year, we were a great team. And the first half of Darren Moore's last season, we were amazing. I'm not going to discredit the 8th place finish when COVID hit in the null and void season. I'm not going to discredit that at all. That was still a good season. Very inconsistent, though. And I think I said that in my first ever season review. There was a lot of inconsistency with that season. So going into that second season with Darren Moore, I was sort of like, what's going to happen now? Halfway through that season, the last season with Darren Moore, we were one of the best teams in that league. We were nearly top of the league for a reason. We were one of the best in the league. But then just something happened. I don't know if talks were already going on while he was still managing the team. I'd heard a lot of people, and it was pretty much all but confirmed that Darren Moore had been confirmed as Wednesday manager, but still managed us in the Ipswich game. And the last 10 minutes of that Ipswich game proved it, because there was no attacking there. It's like these players didn't want to play for him because they knew he was going. So, I think we've not truly got over Moore and McCann. No matter how short-term their fixes were, we've not fully recovered from that, and I think it's time we should do. Whether McSheffrey is the right man or not is another guess. Because obviously, like I said, there's too much going on in those first 6 months. The last 6 months was just damage control and just take hold of the collateral damage and just keep it as minimal as possible, which was hard. But I think we all pretty much guessed that relegation was coming this season anyway. I tried to hold out hope for the first 2-3 months of the new year, but when that Charlton game hit, I was sort of like, no, that's it now. It's done. So there was too much negativity in that team to keep us up this season. So it was going to be hard either way. And the Morecambe result was the one that did me the most. That wasn't on McSheffrey, that was on the players. Now, hopefully, we're getting rid of a few, we're bringing in a few, and we'll have a fresh approach. But we can only hold out for optimism for a certain amount of time. If we get to 10, 15 games into this next season in League Two, and we're bottom 10, bottom 15, well, bottom 10 really, then maybe it should be on the manager to sort of take the ball by the horns and just leave. But I think we're sort of prepping ourselves for just in case we do sack McSheffrey or he walks, because Steve Eyre will probably take over. So unless we get someone external, but again, we don't want to talk like that because we want to back McSheffrey for trying to get something out of this season in League Two, trying to get as high as we can. Like I say, if we're in bottom 10 with 10, 15 games in, 20 games in even, then maybe it's not the right man for the job. But we'll see. Like I said, we'll back him as much as we can, and that's all we can do as fans.
And you mentioned that culture, and as an experienced player, you'll be helping to set that as well. That must be an exciting prospect as well.
Yeah, I think that's where I go back to, taking ownership. We've got to be accountable for last season. Players have to take responsibility. It wasn't good enough by a long stretch, and for me, as speaking on behalf of the players, but as myself, I've come back into that this season, and if you've not got a point to prove, then you've probably not come back to the right club anymore. For me, I expect to look in every player's eyes and expect them to work harder, to fight more, and to go out there and try and really please the fans on every single game and work hard every single training session. You come in to work, be professional, and make it a place where we can learn, we can improve, and we need to lift the place first and foremost. So how we do that is by working hard on the training pitch and delivering on a match day.
Spot on. Absolutely spot on. Especially when he said he's got to look into those players' eyes and know that they are in it for the right reasons. Like he said, if you looks in the players' eyes and they're not giving their all, then he said it right. You'd probably not come back to the right club. And that's exactly what I've been saying in my own words. So, Tommy knows what this club means to the fans, to the city. Still can't believe I'm saying city instead of town. Still, he gets what it means to the city, to the fans, to the community. He gets what Doncaster is to people and what we want as fans to see our club succeed beyond levels that we can't even imagine. And yes, it's going to take a miracle to get beyond those levels. But I don't know. We'll see.
Your season ended a week or two early through injury. Where are you at now?
Yeah, so disappointed in the end because it's frustrating when you don't get to play them last two games when you've played every other game, and you can see you want to be out there with the lads. But obviously an abductor strain that got progressively worse, kept me out of them games, and had to have surgery, which has gone really well. And my rehab has been fantastic, to be honest. Obviously, in the off season, you've got to wind down as well. So I took my time, and now I've picked back up from sort of beginning of June, and I'll look to work with the physio coming back in now, and really confident with it. It's you look at the why it happened, and there wasn't a lack of give and try hard from the squad last year, and there was many other players that were playing on injury and things like that, and you can see that light. We've got some honest players in the change room that if they can stay fit this season, they can be real beneficial to the team, and some good quality that we need to look after. So hopefully that change in culture can drive that as well.
You spoke last year when you returned about this place being a home for you. Well, having a look, you're only a handful of games off this being the club that you've made the most appearances for. It really does feel like home for you.
It does. And, I said that in length last year about, my connections with my son and my family and how they feel comfortable here. But, I mean, just coming down today, it kind of just opens another chapter for me because, obviously turned 34 in September, but last season I felt fresh, I felt driven, determined, and I really wanted to come back and prove a point. Going away and coming back, I sort of left. When I left, we had 3 really good seasons, and I really wanted to come back and prove a point. I think that's what led to, obviously, scoring a lot of goals and performing well in certain games. And although it was an upsetting season, there was still some real positive games that I loved, and that likes of the Sunderland away and seeing the fans in them games where we won and performed well. Shrewsbury away from the 3-3 comeback, and their moments were few and far between this season, and it ended quite badly for the club. But hopefully, if we can use them as a platform in terms of why we want to go out there and get promotion this season, and it's for the fans, and it's to right the wrongs from last season and build something as a group, something new. I think that's something that I look forward to doing.
That's key. And I'm glad that he said that promotion's the aim. I'm glad he said that we want to try and get promoted. And that's what every Rovers fan's ambition should be this season. I know it's going to be very, very hard. I know a few people going out, a few people going in. Culture's changed in the back room. It's going to take some time. If we can record a top half finish at least, then I'll be happy. If we can get in the top 7, that would be even better. We can only judge based on the recruitment we do and what our pre-season fitness has been like. If we have a load of players either injured or low on fitness going into the start of the season, barely any decent recruitment. Harrison Biggins is a good signing, but if the rest of the signings are just poor quality, players that just want to find a club, steal a wage check, loanees that just want to be back at their parent club and just going through the motions, that kind of thing, just the usual stuff we've seen over the last 18 months, then it's just same old, nothing's really changed, and where do we go from here? If by the start of the season, or the first month of the season's passed, we say, and we had a good pre-season, we've fairly been injury-free, we've had great recruitment, the recruitment definitely improved, and we have a very good squad size, a strong bench, a strong starting 11, and we play good football, then there's something to believe in again. There really is something to believe in again. Obviously, for McSheffrey being a building manager, because he is still young, he's inexperienced, it's his first full season in managing. The first 6 months were just his first spell. This is his first full season in management. John Ryan backs Gary McSheffrey. Other people back Gary McSheffrey. I want Gary McSheffrey to do well. I'm not saying people don't want him to do well. It's just people don't have the confidence he's the man to take us forward because of the inexperience. I still have some kind of confidence that Gary McSheffrey could do something if he's backed properly. With Coppinger at the helm at the head of football operations job, though, I'm hoping he does back it. I think Coppinger will back McSheffrey with whatever he needs. Him and McSheffrey are sort of like two peas in a pod, that they know each other. And Tommy Rowe as well. Rowe knows McSheffrey and Coppinger. And I think the dynamic between the three will work very, very well, with Rowe being a leader on the pitch, McSheffrey trying to be a leader off the pitch, as well as, him being a leader in the past on it when he's played football. Coppinger, a past leader on the pitch, now is leading off the pitch with overseeing the football side of things. It's got to click. It's got to click sooner rather than later. Otherwise, we'll be in a situation where we could fall into non-league football, and I really don't want that for this club. And I'm sure, people have their own opinions on the owners, but after speaking with people in the past from the club, I know there's some people in that club that really don't want this club to fall. They really, really don't. Some people might not believe me, but trust me, there's people in that club that don't want this club to fail. It's just, I don't know. It's just, we've just got to back as much as possible. They've got to back the manager and Coppinger with as much as they need and go from there.
Yeah, and that connection that you've got with the club, it'll make it all the more sweet when you get things back on the right track.
Yeah, definitely. I think, for me, last season was obviously disappointing, but being at the awards do at the end with the supporters, it brought it all into perspective, because you see the people who have gone out there all season and supported you through a tough season, and and obviously reward me with the award. But I'm in a position where I can listen, I can hear their concerns for the first time, and it was quite humbling to hear how much more respect they had for us throughout the season, even in a disappointing time. And they're true supporters that are going to be there from the outset, and we as players now have to put it right for them, because they come to every game, and it's there for us to put right.
And I think, again, that's key. They've got to do it for the fans. So there we go. So that's Tommy Rowe's thoughts. That is the end of this video. Make sure you do like, comment, subscribe. And for now, I am the CHALL from Chelsea Sport. That is full time. Thank you very much.